Irving Berlin has been called the greatest songwriter in the history of American popular music. His career spanned throughout most of the 20th century, and his songs are heard all over the world up to this day. Pretty amazing for a man who could only play the piano in one key. He played in F sharp. Those are the black keys on the piano. Legend has it that Irving Berlin had a special piano made for himself that had a lever under the keyboard so he could change the key for different singers. Irving Berlin was born in Russia, and he was born with the name Israel Berlin. He was the son of a Jewish cantor and the youngest of 6 children. The Berlin family immigrated to the United States in 1893. Irving, or Izzy, grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and his father died when he was 13, which left the boy to his own devices to earn a living. He went out onto the streets and began singing. He played the piano in saloons, and eventually, in 1911, he wrote a hit song. After writing a number of songs that were performed in cabarets around New York City, it got back to Berlin, who by now had changed his name to Irving Berlin, that Emma Karas, the female baritone of vaudeville, needed a song. He dug up a song that he had written for an unsuccessful Broadway musical, and that song took the nation by storm. That song was called Alexander's Ragtime Band. It was eventually picked up by Al Jolson, and that song made Irving Berlin one of the richest young men in America. Shortly after the success of Alexander's Ragtime Band, Berlin went into the army and fought in the First World War, but he came up with a very unique idea and wrote a show that would be cast with only American soldiers. That show was called Yip Yip Yap Hank and was a huge success on Broadway, and it introduced what became the soldiers' anthem, as well as the anthem for many businessmen still today. That song is called Oh How I Hate to Get Up in the Morning. He repeated the success of Yip Yip Yap Hank during World War II, and there was a movie made of the show for World War II called This Is the Army, and in that movie, Irving Berlin himself sang the song, Oh, How I Hate to Get Up in the Morning.
I've been a soldier quite a while, and I would like to state the life is simply wonderful. The army food is great. I sleep with 97 others in a wooden hut. I love them all. They all love me. It's very lovely, but oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I'd love to remain in bed. For the hardest blow of all is to hear the bugler call. You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up this morning. Someday I'm going to murder the bugler. Someday they're going to find him dead. I'll amputate his reveille and step upon it heavily and spend the rest of my life in bed.
Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I love to remain in bed. For the hardest blow of all is to hear the bugler call. You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up this morning. Someday I'm going to murder the bugler. Someday you're going to find him dead.
And then I'll get that other pup, the guy who wakes the bugler up.
And spend the rest of my life in bed.
So just like every great Broadway composer, Irving Berlin was drafted by Hollywood and went out to Hollywood and composed the scores for many, many terrific Hollywood musicals. It turned out that he had a gift for writing kind of seasonal American anthems. In other words, he also wrote the songs Easter Parade. I mean, can you imagine the 4th of July without God Bless America, also written by Irving Berlin. Of course, he wrote the anthem of show business, There's No Business Like Show Business, and even the weather, the anthem of weather, Blue Skies, Heat Wave, those are all Irving Berlin songs. A pretty amazing man. He had a knack for defining American culture and the American cultural experience. The song White Christmas first appeared in a film called Holiday Inn. At first, the song went unnoticed by everyone. It was reviewed by the New York Times. I think they called it tender. Variety didn't even mention the song in its review, but then something remarkable happened. The film came out at the beginning of World War II, and uh, actually about a year after the Pearl Harbor bombing, as I recall. And I guess servicemen who saw the movie began to take the song White Christmas to heart. And all of a sudden, the requests for the sheet music and the recording by Bing Crosby were just phenomenal. In fact, they couldn't even keep the sheet music in stores. This is unheard of today. I mean, it was just flying off the shelf. And it still remains one of the biggest selling songs in the history of pop music. Funny thing about the song White Christmas, and this is hard to believe, there was no Christmas song industry. There had been, of course, there were Christmas carols, which were public domain and everybody sang during the holidays. And of course, there were hymns that all of us sang in our various churches. But there was never a kind of non-secular Christmas pop song industry. And White Christmas was the very first song that said to people, maybe there's a way for us to celebrate the holidays as Americans, as a people, to celebrate the winter holidays. And it led to many, many other pop songs. In fact, a thriving industry to this day. I mean, every year we hear songs like I'll Be Home for Christmas, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. None of this would have come about without Irving Berlin. So by the 1950s, the American Christmas songbook was thriving, and it was decided that the song White Christmas should have a movie all its own. And that's the movie that tonight's show, White Christmas, is based on. That movie starred Bing Crosby, Rosemary Clooney, Danny Kaye, Vera Ellen, and has become a perennial Christmas favorite. It is now reimagined here on our stage, filled with the great songs from the movie and some additional Irving Berlin songs. Berlin's songs have been featured in the movies of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and on the Broadway stage. Great show hits like Annie Get Your Gun and Call Me Madam. Jerome Kern was once asked, where does Irving Berlin fit in the world of popular music? And he replied by saying, oh, Irving Berlin doesn't fit into popular music. He is popular music. Whether he was writing a song about a soldier who couldn't get up in the morning, or an Easter parade, or a lonely lover waiting by the telephone, Irving Berlin's words and music have embedded themselves in popular culture all over the globe. He's in every one of our hearts.